The movie begins with Amir, a smirking ISIS member in Afghanistan. Amir was sitting in his lonesome sipping coffee, but then an informant brought a letter to him and after reading it, he left the premises. Amir headed straight to a safe house where his captured American soldiers were held hostage. On getting there, he ordered his subordinates to get them out of their cages. After they were brought out, Amir pinned their team leader Jake on the floor. Few minutes later, the other American soldiers were unchained, after which, Amir gave each of them stones, one after another. After this happened, he gave a public speech to all the ISIS members present. He told them that the American came to eradicate Islam, so they should show her the fate that awaits those who desecrate the name of the Prophet. After his prolific speech, the entire crowd proceeded to stone Jake to death, but before they could, a helipad arrived from above shooting machine guns at them. Due to the intense shooting, the ISIS troops deserted Jake, but they managed to recapture the rest of her crew members. The soldiers who came from the helipad scurrily carried Jake onto the helicopter, while some other soldiers engaged the ISIS troops in a nasty shootout. Amir saw that his troops were on the losing side, so he took up a bazooka and shot at one of the helipad. On seeing this disaster, the second helipad carrying Jake couldn't wait for the soldiers to rescue her remaining team members, so he took off with immediate effect. Jake tried her best to convince the pilot not to leave her crew behind, but it was already too late as when she looked down, Amir had executed all of them. The scene now changes to some Muslim girls playing basketball at the Quetta International Girls High School in Pakistan. After having their fun on the courtyard, a group of girls liaised at the restroom. In there they were gisting among themselves while others were smoking cigarettes. All of a sudden they started hearing gunshots from outside, and on looking through the window, they unearthed that their school was under attack by ISIS forces. The ISIS troops hastily got out of the van and proceeded to capture all the students on site, shooting anyone who wasn't compliant. The students who were still inside the school made their way downstairs, but a group of girls didn't think it wise to follow the crowd, so they headed upstairs instead. The girls who ran downstairs were imminently cornered by the ISIS troops, while the girls who headed upstairs eventually got to the roof and hid themselves there. One of the girls looked from above to access the situation, and she saw all the students being packed into a van. Amir reached out to the students in the van, asking which one of them is Badia Durrani, the daughter of the Afghan Minister of Education. The students didn't give him an accurate answer, so he shot one of their teachers straight in the head. The girls on the roof became terrified on the sight, so they ran towards the parking lot and bid to escape from there. As they were going, they bursted into one of the ISIS members, and as he fell down, Badia took up his gun. He attempted to reach for her, and it was then she shot him, but as she did, more soldiers rushed towards her. She was about to shoot Amir also, but she ran out of bullets, so she took off with immediate effect. She ran back to the roof where the rest of her crew were, and it was there she was intercepted by Amir. He despises the Badia Durrani, because her father uses his office as an Afghan minister to advocate women's rights, and the ISIS viewed it as treachery. In bid to teach her that there's a price to pay for arrogance, Amir held her tightly, while his soldiers threw the rest of the students there over the roof. Badia's mother was watching the local news from home, and it was there Amir asked a ransom of $10 million for the captured daughters of the American diplomats. He also stated that Sheikh al-Shamali be released from the imprisonment of the corrupt Taliban government, as part of his terms. The students were seated miserably at the mercy of their captors, pondering on whether they'll be killed or not. Back to present times in Fort Irwin, California. Jake was summoned to a meeting with her superior officers, and the pilot that rescued her life was also there, both present for questioning. The superior officer gave Jake a chance to withdraw her complaint. It is revealed that Jake wanted the pilot that rescued her to be charged with cowardice, as she watched her men executed, while Warrant Officer Collins chose safety over duty. On listening to all they had to say, the superior officer, not wanting to ruin his weekend, adjourned the case till Monday, after which he discharged the two officers. Jake afterwards engaged in a boxing session with the sole purpose of unleashing her rage. After the session was completed, she unearthed that Travis has been watching her from the stands all this while. Travis told her that he has something very important to discuss with her, but on the condition that she hits the shower first. After Jake was done with showering, she then met with him at the cafeteria. Travis showed her a tab, and on it was the captured daughters of notable American ambassadors and foreign ministers. Travis told her that they attempted a rescue mission 3 days ago, but had no survival, after which he unearthed that she's their only chance of survival. According to him, they'll be going in as an international relief organization, and it has to be 60% women to be believable. Jake was reluctant to carry on with the mission, but she picked a keen interest when Travis told her the person responsible for the abduction is the same man who racked up her team members back in Afghanistan. He knew she had already been convinced on seeing the picture, so he gave her a new passport for the mission at hand, with a new identity as Jessica Rabbit. Jake imminently arrived at Quetta's airport in Pakistan, and it was there she met with Abbas, her supposed taxi driver. He helped her with her luggages, and not long after they arrived at the parking lot. Abbas apologized for the state of his car, suggesting it's because people drive crazy in Pakistan, after which they drove off. Abbas eventually dropped Jake off at the Nab Hotel, and on walking in she met with Rocky, one of her new teammates. Each of the members of the newly put-together crew had distinct functions. Rocky, who she first met, her function was a mechanic, and she was the one who led Jake to the rest of the crew. The rest of the crew being Geek, the tech expert, Rachel, the weapons specialist, subsequently referred to as the shooter, Teresa, the bomb, also known as the explosive specialist, and finally Jane referred to as the medic. Dr. Mike was also part of the team, but who was the only one that wasn't a soldier out of the lot. It is also revealed that Dr. Mike and the medic are in a relationship. After all the introductions, Jake asked them for the nearest reachable cafe. She headed into the cafe in her lonesome, and it was there she contacted her Taliban informant. Awina was initially hostile to her, but Jake recalled the favor she owes her, and further insisted that she needs her help. She beckoned on her to find out where the American girls in captivity are held, and as she was discussing, she got another call from Travis. Jake went back to the hotel and bid to meet with Travis, and as they met, they went over the plan to rescue the girls. As they were discussing, Rocky came in to tell them that Badia's mother is here. On short notice, the minister joined the conversation. She inquired if they know where her daughter is being held, but they told her they haven't found her yet. On hearing this, she suggested that in the case their plan fails, then they should deliver a $10 million ransom for the release of her daughter alone. She also told them that she came to ensure they cross the border safely, and she intends on doing that as her old friend Bashir is a supervisor of the crossing and he'll be watching out for them. The entire crew started their expedition, and it was there she met with Abbas's brother, Malik. Few minutes later, they imminently arrived at the Khyber Pass border crossing. As they were about to cross the border, the soldiers there insisted they turn around and go back, notwithstanding the explanation Abbas gave them. The soldiers ransacked the van, destroying all the supplies that were packed there, even when Abbas was trying to tell them that they are medical supplies. As this was happening, Bashir joined the conversation and told them to stop destroying the supplies, insisting that the shipment was approved by the highest order. After scolding them harshly, he met with Travis and Jake on the sidelines. Before he left, he gave them a number to call in case of emergency, as that was the only way he could help, after which they were allowed passage across the border. Amir on the other hand summoned one of the captured girls to his office. He told her that up till now, they haven't received any response on their offer to release her and her friends, so he has decided to show good faith. Amir told her that he'll let her go free, but on the condition that she delivers a letter for him to the local police station. He told her he'll choose another person if she refuses to go, but she wholeheartedly accepted his offer. Travis and his crew eventually arrived at the location they were to deliver the medical supplies, and they unpacked everything from the truck. After the offloading, they all resided in a hotel. Travis, together with the bomb and the shooter, headed to a safe house where the weapon they'll be using for the mission was stashed, while Jake disguised herself and bid to meet with her Taliban connect. She arrived at the location, and although she was initially welcomed with hostility, she overturned the situation and the two friends eventually rekindled, hugging themselves passionately. After the pleasantries, Awina told her that the girls are being held at an abandoned tobacco factory. Travis on the other hand arrived at the safe house, but he was disappointed on getting there, as the place was completely destroyed and now left in ruin. The entire crew converged at the hotel, after carrying on separate missions. Few minutes later, one of Amir goons drove her to the police station. Although she was somewhat terrified, she still summoned up courage and delivered the letter. Unbeknownst to her, the car she was brought in with was laced with bomb, and not long after she delivered the letter, the police station exploded, killing her and everyone inside. The explosion was so loud that the crew heard and saw it from their hotel. After this happened, Jake came back from her own expedition almost immediately. She met with the rest of her crew, after which she gave them the coordinates of where the abducted students are. Jake assured them that the information is from a legit source, because her informant is someone she saved from being beheaded by ISIS. On hearing this, Travis beckoned on his crew to start acting like a team, after which they commenced the mission. Travis and his crew infiltrated the Taliban hideout, with the sole purpose of stealing their weapons, as the one they have stashed was destroyed. Abbas and his brother disguised as soldiers to gain entry into the storage room, and on getting in they killed the Taliban soldiers present there, after which they proceeded to gather all the weapons they'll be needing for the mission, while Rocky and the shooter stationed themselves well as the team's eyes. As this was happening, they were besieged by more Taliban soldiers. On seeing the Taliban forces getting closer, the team rounded up their collection, and further staged a wall as a counterattack. The Taliban forces were annihilated on sight, after which the team proceeded to drive away. But as they were going, one of the Taliban soldiers shot at Dr. Mike and he fell down from the vehicle. Even though their lives could be jeopardized, Jake prioritized retrieving the doctor's body over running away from the scene. In the process of retrieving the body, Travis was caught in a crossfire, but they were still eventually able to escape. They imminently arrived at a safe location, but by that time, Travis had already passed away, so she retrieved the emergency contact Bashir gave him. Jake gave Geek the number to trace, as she'd be calling it in the next few minutes. Rocky was pissed at her, as she assumed her actions was a desperate attempt to make up for her past mistake, but Jake told her she retrieved the body so they won't know who they are. Not long after, Geek had already connected the call and was tracing the number, and with time they figured out Bashir's location. The next day the entire team arrived at Bashir's house. He wasn't happy with them coming to his house and suggested they go, but Jake told him they can't, insisting they need somewhere to bury their dead members. After the burial was concluded, Badia's mother came to see them, as Bashir told her that 2 of her team members are dead. Badia's mother gave them counterfeit currencies to pay for her daughter's ransom, insisting that's the only solution she could come up with. After she left, Jake instructed all the team members to get rid of their phone, because if the news is fake, then they may be trying to track them. Amir on the other hand, asked for Badia Durrani to be brought to him. He admired her spirit and willpower, so he gave her a proposition. He told her if she marries him, then nobody would have to die, as he'd make sure his trustworthy soldiers marries the rest of the students, but she spat on his face. The shooter hastily rushed in to tell them a car was approaching and they geared up for battle, but as the car got closer, they unearthed that it was Jake's Taliban connect, Awina. Awina told the crew that they'll be moving the girls, but she doesn't know where. She also told them Taliban thinks ISIS was the one who stole the weapons to attack the prison, so they're also moving the sheik to a more secure location. Jake then decided that they break out the sheik during his transfer and trade him. Since Amir wants both the money and the sheik, they'll make Amir come to them. Jake afterwards told them to get rid of their ID, and in the case whereby they're caught, they should admit they're an American soldier, suggesting it won't be pleasant, but they'll eventually be traded. As this was happening, the sheik was already being transferred to a maximum security prison, and the geek was watching all their activities from her drone. Rocky, accompanied by the geek, rode past the military transporting the sheik, as it was a signal to the rest of the crew to initiate. On seeing the signal, they all got into their various formations, but when Rocky was about to get down, she saw a tour bus driving towards them, so not wanting the bus to get in the way of their mission, she rammed the bus with her bike, which made her leg stuck underneath the bus. The rest of the crew continued with their mission. They intercepted the military van by firing bazookas at the vehicles from all angles, after which they engaged in close combat, and was eventually able to retrieve the sheik from the Taliban. Jake immediately rushed over to help Rocky, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't seem to pull her out, so Rocky convinced them to leave her behind as more Taliban soldiers were arriving. As they were about escaping, a boss was shot in the back, but they managed to escape either ways. They got to Bashir's house, and on the local news, they saw how the Taliban soldiers gruesomely killed Rocky. It was a really horrendous sight to watch. Jake couldn't bear the pain, so she screamed wholeheartedly, after which she scurried to where the sheik was kept and attempted killing him. It was then Jake unearthed that Awina is an ISIS informant. On discovering this, she knocked her out immediately, then the rest of the crew rushed in to know what was going on. She proved to them that Awina had been selling them out all this time. Jake then told them to get the car on the road and bring her the money, as ISIS were already drawing close. The team left there almost immediately and was observing closely from a distance. The ISIS troops arrived at the communicated location, and Amir was immensely happy to retrieve both the sheik and the money. After they left, Jake instructed Geek to track her phone, as she left it underneath the money. The ISIS eventually arrived at their hideout, not knowing Jake and her team were following them. Badia eventually decided to marry Amir, but after the marriage rites were concluded, Amir cut out the sheik head using his sword, and we get to discover that Amir only rescued the sheik because he wanted to be the one to kill him. As this was happening, Jake and her crew had already infiltrated the hideout. One of the Amir's soldier rushed up to him to tell him the money they recovered is fake, and he also found a tracking device in the bag. On getting the hang of this, Amir ordered all the women in the building to be gathered together. As they were about to unveil their faces, one of team members activated a bomb, and that was when the massacre commenced. It was an utterly gruesome battle, but at the end, Jake was eventually able to kill Amir, and with time they rescued the abducted students and drove them to the rendezvous location. An helipad was stationed there waiting for them, and on arrival they all boarded the helicopter, and that was how the movie ended. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment. Thank you.